All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Palm Tree Sports. I am your host, Corey Pujols. Happy Saturday, welcome back. And as you guys know, Palm Tree Sports is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And guys, let's just get right into it. I got quite a few things to cover with everybody today, and I'm going to start with the broccoli. Okay, for those of you who do not like your vegetables, I am one such person. I do not like my vegetables. A small little detail about myself: I'm born and raised here in Tampa, Florida. I've been here my entire life. I have been to a few other states, haven't been outside of the country, but what that means is I have a really strong, tie to home. Home base, specifically, is where I want to start things off. And in regards to that, baseball's not the number one sport here, but we take it very seriously. We absolutely love baseball down here. We love Rays games. I personally have been to quite a few. Me and my old man, my family in general, we love baseball. So it's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt them with what I have to say about the Rays coming up right now. But there's just no excuse for it. So I'm just going to lay it all on the table. I watched the rest of the game I was watching the Gator game, of course, earlier. And after the Gator game ended, I went over to the Rays game to catch what was going on there. And it was the top of the ninth, 0-0 ball game. That's the first thing that's annoying, because when you're facing elimination and you're at the top of the ninth and you have 0 runs scored, that's a tall tale story right there on its own, that there's no offense being produced out of the dugout. Nobody's producing anything, literally. I have a humongous problem with a few things, okay? The first thing that is absolutely horrific, and yes, it's like I said, I'm starting with the broccoli first. You guys, we can't leave people on base, okay? Can't do that. In a Major League Baseball, in the playoffs, okay, going against talented personnel groups, talented individuals. When you have multiple teams that can just put a guy on the mound and end a game that way, you don't really have the ability to play around and still get it done later in the game. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's what we're doing, but this right now is a short roast session for my team. And it's because I live here. I've watched it. I love my team. So this is going to be a little bit of tough love. Leaving personnel on base in scoring position 3 separate times, okay, after the extra inning started, so after the bottom of the ninth, okay? Unacceptable. Period. I don't care what ball club you are. I don't care where you play baseball. I don't care what level of baseball you're playing. High school, college, minor league, major league, little league. I'm telling you right now, you leave people on base, all right, on the white chalk, bro, and bad things are going to happen. Okay, bad things are going to happen, like you're going to lose the game. Okay, I don't know how many opportunities Cleveland gave us to stay inside this game and to just win it, more or less, at any given point in the 14 innings before the game was in. Yeah, that's right, guys. For those of you who do not know, the bottom of the 15th is when the first run was scored, and it was a jack. All right, so it sucks. It is so frustrating to watch, especially knowing that this ball club, which did so amazing, okay, during the season at getting on base and getting to home base more specifically, and to see this crumbling of a performance. The game before this was horrendous, but come on, guys. And I'm pretty sure you all can attest that I come on here and I complain every week about us losing 1-run ball games. All right? It was what was his name? Carter. All right, in 1993, Blue Jays. Some of you guys may remember this. Okay, it was what, 2-on. The tying run was at second. The run that would win the World Series is at the plate. All right, and he was a backup batter. Okay, all right, to I'm pretty sure eventual Hall of Famer. And we're talking about the last time the Blue Jays won a World Series, so I'm pretty sure some of you guys are going to remember this. And he said, you dream for moments like this. But at the end of the day, he also said something more specific and more profane, not profane, but much more effective to the situation, which is great ball clubs win run ball games. Period. The end. They did. They won's the one that mattered. They won's the one that didn't matter. And I'm using that as an example because, one, the Blue Jays are obviously in the playoffs, which they were not necessarily in position to be before, and now they are because of how the Rays played towards the end of the season. Not only that, they actually scored in their game, okay? So, hats off to the Blue Jays, but I'm using the history for reference. If you're going to be a great ball club, you got to win run ball games. I personally could guarantee you that if the Rays could figure that out as a ball club, could understand that the mental toughness required in crunch. I'm not talking about the defense. Defense has been playing lights out, okay? Like, let's just, let's call a spade a spade. They've been rocky at times, all right? But out there, the pitching, phenomenal last 2 games, all right? Defense, phenomenal last 2 games. I have no problems with that. We just need to literally implement that, 7, 8 games out of 10, because I know perfection is a hard thing, but the great teams, that's about the rate they do it, okay? And we have to be more effective on offense. Period. The end. Point blank. Period. All right. Randy Arozarena, one bright spot. Obviously, the guy was, he's phenomenal. It is what it is. He's an absolute phenomenon. He's capable of doing amazing things with the bat in his hand. He's a very fast guy. He's able to steal base. He's able to get on base. He's able to score. Okay. So all those things are tremendous, but he can't be the only one trying to do it. Yeah. I'm sure we can all agree on that standard. 0 runs, 0 offense. All right, guys. Again, getting on the plate, it doesn't mean anything if you can't bring it home, all right? So we got to bring it home, guys. And it's very frustrating that I come on here and I say essentially the same thing every week, that the Rays have all the potential. Every year it seems like the potential is there. And then obviously there's either mental errors or ball club errors as a whole. And again, I can't put this on the defense. Defense has played immaculate, all right? Given a chance in the playoffs, and we didn't take it. Right? That's what happens, and that's what happens in the game. So this was a slight roast session, a little hard love for our Tampa Bay Rays, who were just eliminated from postseason play. My apologies. And for the umpteenth time, at least in my short existence on this planet, and let me tell you, it is rather discerning now at this point, So, but with that being said, let's move away from them. Let's go ahead and dive on to some other news really quickly. And since I started with the Rays, I'll go ahead and slide on right into the Lightning. Couple of things about the Lightning, because this is going to be a short part. There's not much to report other than, obviously, for those who don't know, that the Hurricane did have a game canceled. With that being said, we have lost all of our preseason games up until this point. We do play a game today at, the game started at 4, I should say. We'll see how that one's going. I'll check in on that momentarily. See what's going on there. But nonetheless, preseason games, yes, we've lost all of the preseason games. However, we haven't started any regular starters, all right? So that's the first thing. So, a little bit of tentativeness with who's going to make the team, obviously, because there hasn't been as much on paper as you would like to see in the preseason, obviously, again, due to the Hurricane. But with that being said, we're going to make the best choices we can for the team. We go back to work on Tuesday, October 11th, okay? That'll be the start of the regular season. It's against the Rangers. If I'm not mistaken, Rangers made the playoffs last year, so we don't necessarily want to take them for granted. I don't think that they're going to take us for granted. So, hopefully the Stars are iced up and ready to go and good to go for the season opener, because obviously, we're going to want to take no prisoners this season. People are going to be thinking, hey, 3, World Championship appearances, 2 championship victories in the last 3 years. Let's make a statement on these guys, and what we have to do is obviously be resilient, be valiant, and just be dominant on that ice, and obviously win at home. Every time we get the chance, win at home. That's always a big deal. There is, again, like I said, no regular season players in the lineup for the preseason. There will probably be some tonight, obviously, due to the fact it's the last preseason game, so it probably shaking a little bit of the rust off, or what there may be of. There may not be any to worry about whatsoever. So, given that this is the final game, wouldn't be surprised if some of the starters actually start tonight. Couple of key injuries on Anthony Cirelli and Zach. I'm not going to say his last name because I don't want to mess it up. But those are current injuries for us. Aside from that, everybody's good to go. Final cuts for the roster will obviously be being made as time continues and before the season starts again, taking place on Tuesday, October 11th. Again, our first game is against the Rangers, so go Bolts. Hopefully you guys can help lift us up from this detrimental feeling that we've had for the last couple of days, dealing with the the Rays being eliminated from postseason play. So let's start this season off on the right foot. Let's go get a dominant statement win if we can do it. Let's play some good ice hockey for all intents and purposes, and let's get it done. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a break, you guys. When we get back, we'll go ahead and get into the regular things. We'll go ahead and talk Buccaneers, college football, big day for college football, of course. A lot going on across the SEC, and, of course, and the other conferences as well. So we'll dive into that. And also, when I get back, we'll discuss what to expect from the Buccaneers-Falcons game tomorrow. So sit tight. Hold on. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host for Palm Tree Sports, brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' to NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal Sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal Sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
Lopan, they didn't even want you. Heck, they didn't even want me. But you know what? Right about now, they have no choice. Looking for the real sports talk? Talk that's for us, the people? Look no further. The Wait a Minute Show, a prime time sports comedy cocktail that tucks you in at night. Join me and Lopan Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2livestewsradio.com and Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the waitaminuteshow.com. Sounds like a plan to me. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Indeed.
All right, you guys, welcome back. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host for Palm Tree Sports, brought to you by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And now that we're back, let's go ahead and get right on into it. I mentioned that we would go ahead and cover some things for the Bucs and what to expect for them, as well as what to expect on Sunday against the Falcons. So the first thing, as far as the team is concerned, we do have some injuries to report. You may have already seen this already, but obviously Cam Brate out, concussion protocol still. He ran into Chris Godwin on a short flat. And it was really hard to tell exactly how the combination of him getting his head low enough to be in the full impact radius for Chris Godwin's forearm and chest area is what led to it. So, of course, if you guys see that play, you kind of see what I mean there. I don't know the severity of the concussion protocol that he's in, but I do know that he's in concussion protocol. So, just prayers to him. Obviously, again, for those who don't know, I met Cameron Brate personally. He's a great guy. I just, wish him for a speedy recovery, obviously, and hopefully this doesn't hinder him. He's had kind of a rough season, obviously, and, that's my guy, so I just want to see him do well, obviously, but, let's healthy first, well second, right? So, Akeem Hicks, up next, foot injury. He's been bothered by it pretty much since the beginning of the season. I'm not sure what the timetable is, because obviously this is something that they've been taking, playing it by ear, just trying to take it, a day, a couple of days to a week at a time. And so we're not 100% sure about that. Safety Logan Ryan is going to be out for the game. I'm not exactly sure the deficit to his injury as far as what it was that caused him to be sidelined. But he's dealt with a few injuries in his career as well from back at his time in New England. So, that's one of those things where, again, just like Akeem Hicks, we're just hoping that he gets better. This isn't a one-off thing like it was with Cameron Brate. So hopefully he can go ahead and get better. We're going to need that ball savviness of his, his high IQ on the defense side of the field coming up in these next few games. Well, not necessarily right away, because we have the Falcons coming up, and there's no shade to the Falcons, but that's going to go ahead and lead us right into the second bit here. The Falcons is who we play on Sunday. It's going to be a 1 o'clock game, early game. The Bucs have been tremendous, all right, against Atlanta since getting Tom Brady. Now, I was on Twitter the other day, and one of my Tampa Bay brethren shared a picture of some years ago. This is back, if I'm not mistaken, Devin Hester was still playing football when this happened, okay? The Falcons beat Tampa Bay, I think it was 56-0, okay? 56-14. I think it was 56-0. I don't quite remember the score because I tried to run away after Devin Hester had the kick return, okay? So, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I tell you that game was that was a tragedy, okay? That was a Greek tragedy, as my father would say. And I think about that game pretty often, honestly. It was specifically not necessarily the score, but just watching my team be handled. So I would very much so like the Bucs to continue the trend that we've had since Tom Brady has come in to play quarterback for us, which is handle the Falcons. Jesus Christ. With that being said, this game is going to come down to a few different things. Obviously, I think that in order for the passing game to become live, or not necessarily become live, but to stay as potent as it's been, especially from a team who knows that we throw the football, right? Because when you look at Atlanta, we've statistically thrown the football essentially all game against them, right? In the last, 5-6 meetings specifically, since BA was our head coach, he had actually taken over. We just throwing the ball consistently, okay? We're going to do that, of course. We got Tom. However, Lenny, okay? Atlanta isn't specifically, the best team in the league, okay? It's not the best team in the division. Probably not even the second. But they're still a division foe, knows what we're going to do, knows what we're going to come in and try to do, okay? So I'm not taking this game for granted. However, I suspect that the team has had a bit of a chip on its shoulder, especially with the first 4 games being the way that it was. The first 4 games was easily probably the hardest 4 games of the schedule, okay? For any team, at least in our division for sure. And specifically having to go against, Aaron Rodgers, right, defending, yet he was given the MVP last year, but he's still defending MVP from last year. And obviously Patrick Mahomes and those Chiefs who, even though we did beat him in the Super Bowl, they were hurt, and he showed just how much the difference between him being hurt and not having a good offensive line changed him. Now, it wasn't a runaway ball game, but it was still a ball game that was hard to deal with. It was frustrating, especially in the beginning. Travis Kelce is that guy. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay has not figured out a way to stop him. Now, let me make things clear, okay? We didn't necessarily stop him in the Super Bowl. We picked him off, and David did a great job in coverage, all right? But it's one of those things where great players do great things, and Travis Kelce is a great player, and to our dismay, unfortunately, played a great game, all right? Patrick Mahomes, same deal. The guy literally made us look pretty stupid, for lack of a better term, for lack thereof. With that being said, if we see them again, we'll win. We will. And I say that with conviction. I say it not necessarily because it happened that way the first time, more specifically because I have faith in our team. And our defense played horrifically. And this is going to be a slight roast for them. You know, some tough love for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can't play like that on defense, period. 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 Ever again this season. Okay? 41 points? What? 41. 41. When was the last time we allowed that many points? I don't know. Like, it was just really frustrating to watch. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid had the answer for everything. The Falcons are not Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Okay? They're still, like I said before, a division rival. Somebody that we can't take lightly. So, Bucs, let's get after him. Lenny, I think he's going to have a big day. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a couple of touchdowns, 120 yards plus from scrimmage. I'm not a fantasy guy, but I would start him just because I know the Falcons know that we're going to come in and we're going to throw the ball. Okay? So, I suspect Lenny can break arm tackles. He can get a stiff arm in there. He can turn a 2-yard gain into a 7-yard gain. Okay? So, these are the things that I think that will be undermined throughout the game as far as the production. Obviously, Mike Evans is going to do Mike Evans things, right? Because the guy's just, he's balling. He's out of this world, okay? Just absolutely a generational talent, definitely a Hall of Famer, and in my opinion, could possibly go down as a top 10 receiver all time. Look at the work. Look at the stats, okay? Tell people this all the time. First person to throw him a touchdown pass was Luke McCown, all right? I think it was Luke. Might have been his brother Josh. I can't remember which McCown. It was a McCown, okay? Point being, those aren't Hall of Fame quarterbacks, okay? Still had 1,000 yards. So, let's go ahead and move on into what we have next up, which is going to be, I'm going to save Miami for last week because I'm going to dig into Miami a little bit. But the Jags, guys, there's some stuff going on with y'all, okay? So, like, first things first, you have the Texans coming up. I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. It's not the best team in the AFC, and you guys are definitely not in the best division of the AFC. I think you guys might be the best team in the AFC, what is that, South? The AFC South? Y'all might be the best team in the AFC South, guys. I'll be completely honest with you. So, let's go ahead, go get a win right here. You know, go to 3-2. And I'm not undermining the Texans. Please don't take any disrespect to that. Any Texans fans out there, of course, I don't necessarily know why you'd be listening to us. But, hey, if you are, I'm sorry for what's going on right now with your ball club. More specifically, for the Jaguars, y'all got to go get this win. It's that simple. Go out there, you know, get better as a team. Go out there, execute, win the game, run the ball. All right? ETN's monster, obviously. So run the ball. Obviously, you know, the next couple of teams that you guys are going to have, you know, those will be 50-50 ball games. You can win them, of course, but you got to put in the work. So, can't wait to see what happens there. Again, I suspect that ETN will have a big night. Trevor Lawrence will probably do his thing too. A couple of touchdowns is what I'm predicting. 250 yards pass or something to that effect. You know, like a balanced attack. Something that will keep them off balance, keep the Texans off balance more specifically. They're not playing great defense or anything like that. So, you know, nothing to worry about there. And, you know, you're 2-2 with two other teams in your division, bringing that to a total of 3. The Texans is the one team in that division who's not 2-2, all right? So, the Colts, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they're doing yet. Yeah, I get it. Okay, they beat the Chiefs. Yay. You know, they're 2-2, but that's a far cry from the true identity of that team. You guys, I believe, again, are the best team in the AFC South. So you just got to go out there and improve it, right? You just got to go out there and win the ball games and execute on offense, and then, you know, on defense, continue to shut these teams down and you know, play your game. Don't play their game, right? So that's it for the Jaguars. Nothing too weird here. Like I said before, everything else is pretty much just standard at this point for you guys early in the season. Like I said, with the 2-2 records across the board, I think you guys will come out as the better team of all the teams available. I don't think Tennessee's specifically that great. I think that they're good, but I think their holes are bigger than their skill is. Okay? Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. Down south real quick, you guys have the Jets up next. That could be a gimme game depending on how Zach decides to play, but I don't think you guys are too concerned about that. The problem that I have with Miami is very simple. Okay? It's very simple. Tua. There are medical reports and doctorate coming out saying that he should retire after the ordeal that he had regarding the way he was treated with his injury, which essentially he played less than 7 days later, if I'm not mistaken, again, and suffered another similar injury, okay? I said this last week. I'm going to say it again because it's that imperative, and I think that sometimes things get boiled down to the little things, and I don't know if this even counts as a little thing. For me, it's a big thing, but I think every other team kind of gets this. Protect your quarterback, all right? Protect your guy, all right? Now, he's a human being first and foremost. That's the first reason why you should be protecting him. Forget the game of football for a second. That's a human being, okay? And when I mean protect, I mean off the field as well. If this guy is being medically examined and he's not good to go, it doesn't matter if he's saying he's good to go. I feel good. No, none of that matters, okay? What really matters is that you're actually good to go, that you're actually healthy, that you're not going to walk out here and then experience something of a light WWE body slam and now you're concussed again. I'm not putting this on Tua, but I am going to say that it's unhealthy. Spectacularly unhealthy for a quarterback to be slammed on his backside and his head that much. Okay? I can't stress this enough, and it bothers me because I've played the game of football. I've mentioned this before. I've had a concussion. I know what it's like, all right? It's not fun. It's a bewildered feeling, okay? It's almost like being lost slightly. You know, like being in a place that you recognize but have no idea what you're doing there for. You know what I mean? Like there's no rhyme or reason to the thought process other than losing memory of what took place, you know, shortly after it. And, you know, and things like that of that nature. That's why concussion protocol is such a big deal in the league. And, you know, I feel so bad for Tua, you know, again, watching him in college and seeing that his greatness unfold. And to be this early in his career and them telling him that he should retire, I personally think, because this goes beyond the rest of the schedule, okay? Because we're talking about this young man's, you know, his future here, all right? What I would like, and I have no room to make demands. This is not a demand. This is just what I believe for the young man. But what I think Tua should do is step away from the game, at least, and it sounds early and crazy to say this, but at least for the rest of the season. At least give yourself time to fully evaluate and assess. When I mean yourself, I mean your body specifically, to assess yourself and the damage that you've taken. Clearly, even though I still think these hits were too short between each other, time between the two hits were too short for you to fully recover from the first one, I do also believe that maybe your body also needs time to recover because, you know, it's not just, you know, this is a full contact sport. It's the point that I'm making, okay? We just came from an off season, and you are legitimately hurt, all right? And we all saw the videos. It got to the point where they're asking to stop showing it, okay? Tua, take some time, step away from the game, get better, get reevaluated, all right? Get reevaluated a couple of times, get another opinion, and a second opinion, and a third opinion, okay? And make sure that you are making the decision that is best for you, all right? Regardless of the game of football, because you know, you still got a life to live. And even if you're going to play football for 20 years, at some point you got to put your cleats down and you got to pick the rest of your life up, okay? And I'm pretty sure every football player understands that. Every football player knows that. And that's why we see them all in these different, you know, areas of and walks of life afterwards. So, you know, you guys just got to pray for the young man, you know, hopes and wishes, everything positive for him, okay? And, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what happens for him, okay? As far as what I mentioned before with the Dolphins, again, Jets tomorrow. You guys can win that game. I think, obviously, it just depends on how Zach plays. And the week after that, you got the Vikings, okay? Now, that game's going to be much harder, obviously, without Tua, which I don't suspect Tua to be there. He maybe. I don't know specifically what's going on. What I do know is that you guys got the Vikings. Vikings are a good football team. In my opinion, it's going to be probably one of the better football teams come January time, and I actually think they may win the division. So you guys are going to have to take that game pretty seriously. The Vikings are not coming to play games. They're going to be coming to put another notch in that belt. So that you guys got, you know, a tough road ahead with everything considering, but you guys got a good roster, all right, and you guys have a good team. So we just have to wait and see what takes place there. Let's go ahead and head to another break, guys. When we get back, we'll go ahead and get right into college football and go ahead and discuss everything that went down there. and then I'll have you guys on your way for the rest of your Saturday. Okay, guys? Thank you again for sticking with me here on Palm Tree Sports. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and it is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Palm Tree Sports, brought to you by IE Sports Radio, hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols. And again, this is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now, I mentioned before that we will go ahead and get into college football. Real quick, my apologies. I do have one more thing to report for Tampa Bay, and this was just popped up on my screen just as I was coming back here. And that is that the Bucks did activate two receivers. So, if I'm not mistaken, for those who don't know, Cole Beasley retired, right? After 2 games with Tampa Bay, we lost both those games. There was, I guess, an oddly shaped connection to what was going on there. But I guess you could say that he, maybe realized that he wasn't, where he had been before. Whatever the case may be, he retired, which prompted Tampa Bay to then go ahead and bump 2 guys from the practice squad up to the active roster, being Krieger, I believe, Jalen Krieger, I think his name is, and then obviously Devin Tompkins, okay? For those who watch any of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers preseason games, Tompkins was the one making those crazy catches, and people are like, they cut him? What? No, they cut him, brought him back to the practice squad so they could keep him for times like this, and it's funny because I was having this conversation with my dad yesterday, all right, on the phone. He was talking to me, he said, hey, what do you think about Cole Beasley retiring? I said, listen, he did what he thought was right for him, good for him. I think we need to go ahead and just elevate Devin Tompkins from the practice squad, and Lord behold, bang. All right, next day, 2 hours ago, of course, I just got the information, unfortunately, but bottom line being, that was, I think, is going to be proved to be a blessing in disguise. That was a guy who was soaking up knowledge left and right, and he played his behind off during the preseason games. And that's just for those who were paying attention and knew what was going on there. Just had to throw that information out there for those diehard Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. I'm pretty sure y'all been wanting to see him for a minute. Now then, college football, guys. For those who already know, and for those who don't know, I am a Gator, die-hard blue and orange. From the age of 4, first game was, the Florida Gators versus the Tennessee Volunteers. I don't know specifically if Payton was at quarterback. He might have been at quarterback, but Tampa, the Gators, they beat him. Okay, they beat him pretty good, and that was just a highlight moment for me, and I've been a Gator ever since. Fast forward 20 some odd years, and here we are playing Mizzou. We were playing at home in the Swamp, and it was an early game, 12 o'clock game. So that was the first 12 o'clock game of the season. So obviously it was going to be interesting to see how the boys played, especially against a team that has done well against them statistically and on the field specifically. We've struggled against Mizzou ever since they joined the SEC back in 2015. I don't quite remember what it was, but I can tell you right now that it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Again, Mizzou always plays us pretty hard. Hopefully that's not the case anymore. Now that we were able to get this win, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a big win. We held on more than anything. It was definitely behind the performance of Jaden Hill, our defensive back, with 2 interceptions, one being a pick six, kind of opened the game up early in the first quarter, I think it was. It wasn't looking too great, It started off, it was a defensive game, kicked the field goal, scores 3-zip, and then boom, Jaden Hill reading the coverage. The Gators said, not just the Gators as a whole from the team perspective, but Billy Napier actually came out and said, the defense will be different, defense will be better. And I guess it proved its point, right? Because defense did play a little bit better there. And again, like I said, with Jaden coming up with 2 interceptions. The second one was a snuff out of red zone drive, so that was huge as well. Glad to see it. Glad to have him back into the mix. He's been injured a lot. For those who don't know, he's had injury after injury after injury. I think it was 3 separate injuries in the last 2 years that kept him off the field. With that being said, let's move over to Anthony Richardson, obviously the project, and he's very much so exactly what he sounds like, a project. He's Optimus Prime without the knowledge, if you will. And somebody mentioned before, I said this before as well, that it was like giving a 16-year-old a Ferrari, okay? Because he's got this 6'5" stature, okay? He goes 245 pounds. He runs the 40 and a 4.5. But his decision-making in the pocket, his touch with the football are just things that are left on the table. I mean, if let's say we were at a casino right now, we had the chance to take all the money off the table. This guy's walking out with like half of it, Because some of those pieces that separate quarterbacks and the ability to play quarterback in the league, specifically college football. Now, yes, he is a baby in terms of playing college football, but at the same time, so are a lot of the greats that have played the game. And that's one of the things that drive me crazy. I'm going to use a recent example for those who don't know. Joe Burrow, all right, the quarterback for the Bengals, right, just went to a Super Bowl last year, carried them to a Super Bowl last year. Would be a better way to describe how they got there. For those who don't know, he played LSU for 2 years, okay? Before that, he was backup at Ohio State, okay? He's backup at Ohio State. Now, get this. Ohio State didn't start him, and he won a national title at LSU. So, obviously, there's the idea that, hey, what's going on here? Well, y'all had this guy sitting here in the dugout the entire time, and nobody knew anything, and then just goes perfect season LSU. Him and Justice Jefferson rip apart the entire college football, national competition. It was him, too, because, I hate to say it like this, but, the head coach got fired shortly after Burrow left, right? I think a year after he left, he got fired or something like that, Ed Oregon. And there was a lot of things surrounding it, of course, but, the bottom line being that was a magical time for them from a magical football player, okay? AR-15, Anthony Richardson, for those who don't know, because he wears the number 15, he has all of the talent. Right? Like, it's all there. Like, you could just see him and see it, right? You could see it. But he has to apply it. And by apply it, sometimes that means, get comfortable in it. Like, for instance, we see him throwing these footballs, and it's like they're being shot out of a cannon, You don't have to shoot every football out of a cannon. Sometimes you can just, like a fairy, and float it, like ever so gently to the receiver. There are times where he's missing the wide open receiver because he's throwing that 95 mile an hour fastball, and it should just be a duck. He should just be kind of tossing a duck to him. So every week, same deal. Let's see if he can get better. He's turned the ball over at least once in every single game we've played this season. That is a little bit of a concern, right? Because obviously you don't want that from your starting quarterback. He's still young. He's still learning. He's still evolving. So I have to give him a little bit of room. But let's just be honest here and say that obviously He's got to be a little bit more decisive, and that would be the advice that I offer to him, is to be decisive, because on some of these plays that continue to keep Missouri into the game, he just held the ball for too long. Now, if we're going to sit here and look at Billy, which I've heard on Twitter, a lot of people say that Billy's Napier's play calling has been questionable in certain areas. I can understand that, and I can understand that viewpoint. However, we've seen quarterbacks do more with less. Okay, and when I mean less, I mean from that quarterback perspective. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but Tom, all right, 6th-round draft pick, last quarterback selected in his draft, only quarterback to play 20 years in the league, only quarterback to do literally everything he's done, which includes 7 Super Bowls across 2 different teams in 2 different decades. Okay, so forgive me if I see everything that you're capable of and hold you to that. You know, forgive me for that. Last bit for the Gators is Trevor Etienne was just wow. You know, that guy's something special. If you haven't seen the tape, boom, just like his big brother. But I don't want to say that he's a copy. He is his own person, and I see him for his own person and respect his ball handling skills, because the guy seems to be getting better every week. And this week he showed some serious, great decision making, great burst through the hole, and ability to move the chains forward, which is a beautiful thing. And in my opinion, he is our probably our best running back, but he's also still young. We do have Johnson, who was doing a phenomenal job carrying the football as well, and I'm not to undermine him, but I can't wait to see what young Etienne decides to do and how he decides to evolve over his career, because it's hard for me to see him getting just about any better than what I've seen from him these first couple of weeks. He's very balanced ball carrier, and I'm very pleased to see where he is this early in his college career, and he will be playing football just like his brother is on Sundays. Last 2 things, actually. I know I said that would be the last thing. 2 more players. Brenton Cox, all right, Jr., if he can stop overshooting tackles and sacks. All right, notice my voice got a little deep there, because this is a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, he's a 5th-year senior. He's all SEC defense. He's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, by the time the ball is snapped, he's in the backfield looking for somebody to munch on, and it's absolutely a beautiful thing. Love to see it. However, if you're just gonna blow by the guy and barely get a hand on him, then I'm gonna have to ask you to simmer down a little bit, guy. And I remember playing football when I was younger, coming off the edge, and I used to be that way. And finally, somebody pulled me over. One of my coaches pulled me over and said, you're so fast off the ball, but you got to contain it when you get to the quarterback, or else the quarterback just sends you for a whirlwind, which is what happened. Then I started to master the technique of guarding, right? And specifically, guarding is exactly what it sounds like across any sport, whether it be martial arts, basketball. It's having your hands in front of you, whether they be low or high, but ready to defend based off whatever sport it is you're playing. If you're in martial arts, your hands are going to be high. If you're playing basketball, you're going to have one hand high, one hand low. That should be the way you should be doing. You don't want to be reaching. You don't want to make a fool of yourself. You don't want your guard to be too open, right? Hand down, man down, right? All right. So obviously, in the game of football, it's a similar thing. You definitely want to have your guard up, and that's something that needs to be worked on when you're rushing the quarterback, because you don't want him to feel like he has somewhere to go. What you want him to do is to hesitate and fall or throw the ball off balance or out of bounds, or sack him, of course. But you don't just blow past him and just barely touch the guy and don't get the sack. Now you're completely done out of the play. You're not going to be able to recover fast enough. Okay? Now, if the coaches aren't teaching them this, then that's shame on the coaches. But from a 5th-year, senior perspective of playing the game of football, and I'm talking about something I learned back in high school, definitely want to back to the basics, right? Because we're talking about 2 or 3 sacks that were left on the board today just from overshooting alone. Not to say he didn't do great. Did phenomenal, which is why I brought him up. But I just know the guy can be, that guy, especially in the next level, if he can just fix that one little issue. Last guy to mention was, of course, our middle linebacker, Ventrell Miller. That man is the heartbeat of the defense. He's absolutely the catalyst to the defense, and he has been playing like it. Just give the man the Dick Butkus Award while you have the opportunity to do so, because this guy is playing possessed. It would be a lot easier for me to just tell you that the Gators have been playing 3 guys on defense recently, and those are the 3 guys: Jaden Hill, Ventrell Miller, all right, and Brenton Cox Jr. All right, so that's it for the Gators, though. Those three guys are balling out of control. Offense was doing all right. Got to do a little bit better next week and continue to go from there. We got LSU next week, guys. So Knowles, speaking of LSU, you guys played LSU earlier this season, and you beat them. So that was good, first and foremost. But then you know that begs the question: what happened against Wake Forest, huh? You know, like what happened there, guys? You know, you lost, obviously. Not a comfortable loss, 31-21, 10-point differential there. Off the back of your defense, just letting up too many rushing yards. Obviously, that was the difference in the game, right? You're talking about, was 70-yard swing in offensive production between the two teams, and that'll go ahead and show it to you, which means the defense was playing well and get you stops, getting you the ball in the red zone, doing what you got to do, getting more possessions, stealing possessions, what they call it in college football. And that's what was going on with Wake Forest. I did not watch the game, but the stats tell a story, yes? All right, again, 10-point ball game. You guys were in the game. How were you in the game, you asked? Jordan Travis, 23 of 35, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, no fumbles lost. This is what I'm talking about, FSU. This is what I'm talking about. I'm a Gator, and I watch you guys. And from a distance, I don't see every game played, but when I can watch you, I do. And I pay attention to the way you guys play football. And there's one thing I can tell you is when your quarterback's playing well, you usually win, except for when you're not playing defense, guys. All right, you allowed 31 points. That's the first issue. Second issue was you allowed 171 yards rushing against from Wake Forest. Wake Forest is not, they're not, Clemson. Okay, guys? They're not, Ohio State. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. They may have a good roster, but they are not these teams. And the reason why I'm saying that is because those are teams that are known to run the ball. Yeah, they run the ball, guys, and they run it well. Okay? Yeah, they could throw it, but they all have good run games. Okay? Wake Forest showed against y'all that y'all don't have a good defense against the run, and that they have a good run game. That's why you lost. So, that was the biggest things for me. Again, Jordan Travis, phenomenal game. Again, 23 of 35. What's that percentage? What's that 80 percentile? 70-something percentile from the QBR, if I'm not mistaken. And then he goes 281 yards. All right, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. You cannot ask more from your quarterback. I'm be completely honest with you. If this was if this was a guy playing quarterback on Sunday, he's gonna be staring at his defense like, "What were y'all doing?" And I'm not from a disrespectful standpoint, but from a standpoint that I did my job and I had trust in y'all, and we have to trust in y'all to do your job, but y'all did not do your job. Okay? So, Knowles, that wasn't a pretty one. There's not a whole lot to say, especially after that. I said last week that this would be the test for y'all to determine that, are y'all here to stay, are y'all here to hang, or are y'all just going to, just dip off into the wings somewhere and be a forgotten team this year. It looks like y'all chose to be forgotten. Okay, you still got to go play Clemson, and I think you still got NC State. I think you still got NC State. All right, I'm not 100% sure, but unfortunately, guys, I don't see it going too well for y'all moving forward. Unfortunately, Jordan Travis again played his behind off. Great game for him. Defense, y'all got to figure something out. That's it. That's all I got for FSU. Miami Hurricanes, last team that we have. Before I go into the Miami Hurricanes, I just want to touch on one thing because I did passively watch the score of this game too. The USF, the Bulls, okay, they were in position to snipe the game away from Cincinnati. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, they were up by a touchdown going into the fourth. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, was it 24-17 or 21? Was it 21-14? I don't quite remember exactly what the score was, okay? But they were up, and they had a chance to snipe the victory. Checked it, 28-24 victory for Cincinnati. They were able to snipe it back from USF. So, heartbreaking loss for the USF Bulls. I'm sorry for you boys. Sorry for USF. But, guys, those are one of those things, like, with the Rays, when they're losing these run ball games, guys. When you have the lead going into the fourth quarter, you got to seal it. And I mean Ziploc bag. Right? You gotta seal it. Airtight, whatever, pressurized, depressure, I don't care. You gotta finish that, guys. That would have been a great upset for the club. It would have been the second major upset for you guys in the last, 10 years against Cincinnati specifically. So, that would have been great. Unfortunate. Try to bounce back next week. Miami Hurricanes, all right? Not a whole lot to say about Miami specifically. The loss to Middle Tennessee, I think I spoke about that last week, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that the season was over. after that loss, I meant that. And I'm saying that, again, coming from the same place that I was last week, speaking on how talented this team has been in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and to see how far they have fallen in recent memory, and to see that they don't have an identity yet. Okay? You guys don't know who y'all are as a ball club. All right? First step for any college football team, figure out who you are. All right, and what does that mean specifically? Are you a West Coast offense? Are you a pound the rock offense? Are you a utilization offense, right? Do you just basically build your offense around your best players? Do you play great defense with a run game? Do you run and gun? Do you know, like, what is it? West Coast, pro style with the college, with the college playbook involved. And what is that pro style with the college playbook involved? That's like the Ravens, the offense that they run, the offense that the 49ers run when Alex Smith was at quarterback, the offense that the Panthers won when they had Cam Newton. You're talking about all these design RPOs where they're basically the receivers are just there to keep the defensive backs and the safeties at will, and you're just taking advantage of the abundance of personnel at the line versus going downfield and trying to create openings in zone back. Guys, this is a game that seems complicated, but it's very, very simple. The game of football is very simple. You pay close enough attention, you can see patterns, you can see the defense, you can read everything. That's why people like Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady, like Joe Montana, like what was his name? Oh my goodness. Aaron Rodgers are considered field generals. That's where that term comes from, to be able to take whatever field you are on and manipulate it so that your plan A works, regardless of what plan A is what creates a field general. Miami, y'all don't have anything. And no identity on offense. Can't play defense. I was watching. You guys are the first quarter, first half, whatever we were at. I think we were in the second quarter actually of that North Carolina game, and it's already 14-zip North Carolina, and they had the ball. Like, guys, really, come on now. Hey, you guys got to play football. You got to get back to the basics. What do you have? What do you have as far as talent is concerned? Who's your best player on offense? Rally around that. Create a playbook. Create plays. Develop trust. Develop execution. All right. Because it's just unfortunate, and I know any Miami fans listening would agree with me here. You're so much better than what y'all guys have been putting together, what you've been putting on tape. All right, got to get back in the lab, and I mean Rick and Morty style. All right, because it's do or die at this point. All right, you're in danger of dropping your third game. All right, and y'all know what happens when you drop 3 games. Your playoff hopes are squished. Done. And from an outside perspective, even if crazy things should happen, you're done. All right. So next up, you guys got Virginia Tech. Might be the easiest game of these games that you've been playing recently. I don't know what to expect. Virginia Tech's not the best team, but then again, neither of y'all. So perhaps it'll be a great game. If I want to give you a recipe on how to stop Virginia Tech, run the football. Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you. Great things come to teams who are disciplined in running the football. That's all I can tell you. Because you go look at teams who won national championships. You go look at teams who won Super Bowls on Sundays. They run the football. Almost every team runs the football. All right? All right, then. Well, that's all I got for, the great state of Florida today, guys. There was a lot to go over today, again, given how much sports is shifting again with the return of hockey and now the end for our beloved Rays, if they have been again eliminated from postseason play. A lot to think on, a lot to get ready for coming up tomorrow, specifically on Sunday. NBA basketball is back. I'll try to do some more work on touching with the Heat and the Magic. Don't expect much from the basketball perspective, though, because we're still early on in the preseason. So, we're going to get everything figured out once the regular season starts and then go from there. I'm a bigger Miami Heat fan than I am a Magic fan. So, for anybody who wants to share an opinion with me, have a conversation, want to run something by me, has any information for me regarding any of these teams in Florida, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Corey Pujols. And you'll see me up there, see my picture. You'll see my link to IE Sports Radio again. And this has been a pleasure. Thank you to all those who listen. Thank you guys for joining me on this Saturday afternoon for talking another round of Florida sports. Can't wait to see you guys again next week, and we'll get right back to it again promptly at 6 o'clock, same time, same place. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host for Palm Tree Sports Radio, brought to you by IE Sports Radio and your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.